welcome to After Hours. My name is Owen O'Boyle. I am 23 years of age, for those of you who don't know me. I am a vape store owner and I love alternative methods of feeling better physically and mentally, and I like spirituality. I like anything that makes me feel better or other people feel better, and I own a vape company in Drogheda and I try to get people off the smokes, and it's good. It fulfills me and I feel happy. So that's what I do every day. John McKeown is well known around the Cullen area recently because he had one of the largest events. John, what do you do?
Thanks for having me on, Owen. I'm what's called a Wim Hof instructor. For people who don't know what that is, Wim Hof is a Dutch guy who's came up with this this practice that's based on 3 pillars: breathwork, cold exposure, and mindset. And basically what I do is I teach people these methods, and one of the final things that we do is we get people into ice baths, and that's what we do. And last 2 weekends ago I trained 10 locals in the village of Cullen to spend 2 minutes in an ice bath, and that was to raise money for the local community hall, which needs money to refurbish it and stuff.
How much did you raise in total?
We raised €7,000, which was fab. The target was 3,000, so you
smashed it. John has pulled off such a wonderful event while also being able to bring people the wonderful benefits of the Wim Hof Method and increase awareness about it. And that's what John's all about. John will be speaking during the podcast and will be demonstrating how to do the method itself. So John, I'd like you to tell us a bit about the 3 pillars.
Okay, well, as I said, the 3 pillars are breathwork, cold exposure, and mindset. And for me, the first one is breathwork. I don't believe you can do the cold without learning how to control your breath. Some people say that breath control is stress control. So the ice bath is a physical and a mental stress. So if you can control your breath, you'll be able for the ice bath. So we start off with the breathwork. Breathwork is basically 3 2-minute rounds of, they call it controlled hyperventilation. We don't like to use the term hyperventilation, but that's basically what it is. We breathe in and out for 2 minutes. And at the last one, we take a deep breath in and we exhale, and we hold that exhale for as long as comfortable. And then when we need to breathe, we take a deep breath in and hold it for 10 seconds, and then we exhale, and that's 1 round. And we do 3 rounds. As I said, each round is 2 minutes. And lots of things happen during that period of time. Your blood pH goes up. It goes up to 7.9. That doesn't sound a lot, but your blood...
And for viewers out there or listeners out there, I would love to have a video version of this, but unfortunately my camera has not arrived, so it's an audio version. So John, for those who are not, tell us a bit more about this pH and what it means. Okay. What it means for your body and even for your brain.
Okay, so your body tries to keep your blood pH slightly alkaline. So it's a measurement around 7.3 pH. Okay. And doing this type of breathing, your oxygen levels in your blood increase and your carbon dioxide levels in your blood decrease. So it makes the pH of your blood go up to 7.9. That doesn't sound a lot, but it's a logarithmic scale. That actually is a huge increase. So the quickest way to alkaline your body is do 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing. So you have people, who do what's called alkaline diets and this, that and the other. The quickest way is to do 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing. And we all know that bacteria and viruses can't live in an alkaline environment. Yeah. And a fully oxygenated environment, and so this is
very relevant as well. Very relevant.
Yeah. So it's a very quick way to help your immune system fight off viruses and bacteria. Yeah. And it's a very simple method.
Very simple method. And what, John, when it comes to the cold, why is the cold so important?
Okay, well, cold is 2 things. It's a mental stress. People don't like the cold, and it's also a physical stress. So when you step into the cold, you obviously have a physical stress on your body. What it does is it produces anti-inflammatory hormones, as does the breathing as well. But it also increases your white blood cell count. So it boosts the immune system. I did have a guy recently who had actually had MS, and he gets his blood checked every 6 months, and his neutrophils, which are white blood cells, one type of them, were low always. And he started the Wim Hof Method, and after 8 weeks of doing the Wim Hof Method, he got his blood checked again, and his neutrophils had gone up to the highest level it had been in years.
Wow.
And that's, again, so the cold is...
And that's all natural. That is all. There's very little or no drugs.
No drugs, no supplements, no vitamins, no nothing. It's pure breathing and cold. Now, not everybody can just get straight into the cold.
You gotta build it up.
You gotta build it up. We do have a thing called a 20-day cold shower challenge, where on the first day you take your normal shower, and the last 15 seconds you turn it to cold.
Yeah.
And what that does is I always tell people the first day is bad, the second day is worse, because you know what's coming.
Yeah, you know what's coming.
You know what's coming.
Yeah.
But so that's how it's a mental thing as well,
yeah.
because you've got to train your mind. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to commit to this for 20 days, and each day I'm going to increase the length of time. Yeah. So it's also a great mental thing.
And I'd actually say when I started back in November of 2020, and I was feeling, the reason I started was because I was feeling a bit just down, the lockdown, and I wasn't feeling extremely down, but I just wasn't myself. So I'm always trying to find myself and find a spot where anxiety doesn't come. And that's when the Wim Hof book popped out of nowhere, and I was walking through Waterstones, and I was like, wow. So I just picked up the book, brought it over, and I said to your man, have you ever heard of this? And he said, yeah, it's unbelievable. You should look at it. I do it every day, and I have no anxiety. So I went home anyway, and I started reading the book. And in 2 nights I had the book finished, and just as an update, I've read it 6 times since. But the first cold shower I ever had was absolutely horrible. It was like hell, because I did it warm, and I like a nice warm shower, and I did it to cold, and your breathing automatically goes like that, and I thought, oh no. But it was the feeling after, the first time I did it. It's like the first time you step off a plane in a hot country. It's amazing. But it's just, you feel refreshed. I could describe it like it's like peeling my skin off. When I hop out of the cold shower, I take a deep breath in, I do the horse stance, which John will elaborate more on later, which is just a stance, and it helps you warm up. John will go into more detail about how it works. But then it's just day by day. I could only do 10 seconds. I have it written on my whiteboard at home. Day 1, 15 seconds. I'm happy I did it. That was the main thing. The mental boost, everything like that was unbelievable.
So just on that, what they've discovered, I have to say that all the Wim Hof Method is scientifically backed. Yeah. He works with scientists to prove what he says. So, and again, you can. Here's a section on his website where all the science.
Yeah, we'll have links in the description as to all the science papers and all the world records Wim Hof himself has broken. There's a lot of interesting. He's an interesting man. Yeah.
So what they have discovered is people who suffer from depression or PTSD or ADHD are all low in a hormone called norepinephrine. Okay? 20 seconds in 4 degrees Celsius of water increases that hormone by 200%. So that's
cold hard evidence.
That's cold hard. That's Dr. Rhonda Patrick who states this. She's another specialist in body. She concentrated on heat, but also interviewed women and studied the cold as well. Yeah. So that's why it's good for people who suffer from PTSD or stress or anything like that, because your norepinephrine shoots up. So that's another benefit of the cold. There's lots and lots of benefits. And the third pillar probably is mindset. And as I said, it's a mindset to get into the shower, into the cold. Initially, it's a very physical stress and also a mental stress. But after a while, it becomes a meditative activity. You look forward to your cold shower. You become addicted. Yeah. So when I'm going anywhere now, I was in Donegal last week, and before I went, I said, "Where's the waterfalls? I want to jump in waterfalls." you start looking at places where you can get in, and I just love it now.
You feel when you're in the cold, it's almost like I feel like I'm reconnecting with myself. I feel like if I ever have a moment where I feel in any way, even mentally or physically, not 100%, I know that there's a tool I can use in my armory, which is the cold shower or the breathing. Mostly the cold shower because it's instant. With the breathing, it can take a little bit more, I suppose, motivation to do it, because it requires you to actually perform an action, whereas standing in a cold shower is all mental.
And it's immediate.
It's immediate. You feel it. With the moment that cold water hits you for the first time, there's a possibility you'll go into a place where you've never actually been before because you're committed to it. And the biggest thing I'd say to anyone who's starting, because I've had a lot of customers in my shop who've started very well, but sometimes after 2 or 3 weeks, they can stop after the challenge. And that's why, for some reason, I personally don't like challenges that much, because they have an end. A challenge should be kept going. If it's a challenge that has, let's say, a fantastic outcome, which is the cold showers, you keep it going. So you go 15 seconds, 30 seconds, 45, a minute, build it up. I'm on 18 minutes now is my longest, which is extreme, and there's no need for it. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute of it. I was meditating, and I was thinking, I was planning my day. It was wonderful, and it's discipline over motivation, because you don't have to be motivated, just get in.
Yeah, so that's again, when people come to a workshop, I always say to them, the hardest thing is not today in the ice bath. The hardest thing is to fit this into a daily ritual. And that's, even for me, that was difficult at the beginning, because I'd say, I'll do it in the evening when I come home, I'll do me. But I never, a day will go past, another day, and I haven't got it done. So for me and my wife, we wake up in the morning, and the first thing we do in the morning is we do 3 rounds of Wim Hof breathing. And then I'll go and have a cold shower, and she normally has a warm shower and finishes with the cold, and that's how we start our day every day.
And what got you into this method, John?
Well,
and when did you start?
Okay, well in 2010, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and so we went what's called an alternative route, and part of that treatment was ozone therapy. Pure oxygen is O2, ozone is O3. And it was done in Germany. They take your blood out, mix it, take about 200 millilitres of blood out, mix it with ozone. Yeah. So they fully oxygenate your blood, and then they put it back in, and they do that over 10 days. And basically what they're doing is they're cleaning up your blood. Your blood goes to every organ in your body. So you change the oil in your car once a year.
You're refreshing yourself.
You're cleaning up the whole system. Yeah. Now, it didn't cure the cancer,
but it helped.
But it made it not spread. It didn't spread. The cancer never spread. That was only one part. Then she also had, I know Wim Hof is ice cold. She also had hypo, the heat treatment anyway.
The heat treatment.
The heat treatment. Yeah. Again in Germany. Yeah. And cancer cells die at 43 degrees Celsius.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that now.
So it's it's a treatment that's provided in Germany. I don't think it's provided in this country. So she got that done, and so I started doing my own research, and I was fascinated by this ozone therapy and getting oxygen into the cells. And so I'd take my wife, when we were in Germany, we go into a forest, and I'd say, right, let's start doing our breathing, not knowing anything about breathing properly or anything, but I knew breathing fresh air in the forest was good for you. Yeah. And so again, doing my own research, I discovered Wim Hof. My wife's gran, by the way, she had the tumour removed in 2013.
That's absolutely great to hear.
Yeah,
my God. And did your wife go through any, let's say, I won't say mainstream, but any through drugs or through the hospitals and things like that?
No.
It was all done through
the ozone.
What was the name you had for the type of way you approach alternative?
Yeah, it's a name put onto something that's not sort of mainstream.
Yeah, fair enough. But that's I'm absolutely over the moon to hear that, because we're living in a time where it's a lot of tragedy about cancer. It's constantly, that's a real pandemic. Cancer. That's the real pandemic. So if you can have natural ways, or let's say more accessible ways to
I
fight it?
I think it needs to be. I'd love to see it, like the cleaning up your blood. That has to help.
Yeah.
That has to help.
Why do we clean everything else?
Yeah. So and again, it's not. I just love to see. I mean, it's done in Germany. I don't see why it's not done here.
Yeah. And there's one thing I've been struggling with lately in Ireland, and it's the fact that if I'm in need of help in any way, physically I will get sorted, more than likely, because you will. If you have a broken leg, you can go to the doctor. That's grand. Like, you might be away in A&E for 24 hours, fair enough. But mentally, if you're struggling with anything, there's very little. You can go to the routes that are already available, which are great, and the services that the charities provide in this country, unbelievable. But the HSE don't have a great mental health strategy, purely down to funding and the way it's being spent. If you had a portal online where you could go in and you say, I am feeling this way, you do a survey, and it tells you options that are different as well. So the cold, it could say, right, you say, I've had a bad day today, I've had a really, really bad day today, but what can I do? And it says, but how are you feeling? Are you feeling like everything's catastrophic, or is everything just okay, or what's happening? Then it'll say, possibly have a 15-second cold shower if, of course, you are able to, and you don't have a heart condition and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then people have hope. If you feel down, at least you'll go, oh, I have 7 or 8 options there. Different types of ways, different types of breathing, all these that I can try, alongside conventional methods such as counselling and cognitive behavioural therapy. Then you're creating a bulletproof society. Mentally bulletproof, because you feel your emotions still, but you accept them. That's the difference I find with Wim Hof, and a lot of people find with Wim Hof, is that mentally it makes your thoughts flow and not get stuck in a loop. So I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent there, but I just thought I'd mention that, and the fact that the Wim Hof has changed my mental health completely. My anxiety, thank God, is at an extremely manageable level. It's natural, it's healthy, and I can only owe that to the Wim Hof Method. So it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating to hear stories, and I'm sure you have plenty of them, of people in circumstances that they just didn't think they could get out of in terms of physical or mental health, and they with the Wim Hof Method they achieved the outcome they wanted.
We had, when we all went there, we all went to become instructors. We all had our own stories, and we all had to stand up and say why we were there. And one guy was there because since the age of 6 he suffered from panic attacks, and he was on different medications and stuff. He said he often rang for an ambulance and said he was having a heart attack, but he wasn't. He was having
hyperventilate.
He was having a panic attack. And so and how it started when he was 6, he was doing a school play, and his parents and grandparents were in the audience, and when the curtains opened, he just froze, and at 6, and he wet his pants.
Okay, yeah.
From that day forward, it scarred him. Yeah. So, and he'd heard about the Wim Hof Method, so he tried it himself at home, and as I said, it's like hyperventilating, and he said this brought on a panic attack. And so he says this doesn't work, but again he'd done his own research and said, no, this is supposed to work. He ended up going to Poland for a week
with Wim Hof.
So back then,
so his initial, I think, but just to cut across here, and I don't mean to be rude, but
okay.
The motto is to just never. Your first impression of something, if it's going to be something you don't like going into it, is if you try it, it's going to be tough. So you have to just keep going. Discipline over motivation is
key. So again, as I said, he found it not good at the beginning. So back then you could go to Poland for a week and do like a week with Wim Hof, and he would teach you the breathing. He would put you in the cold rivers, and at the end you would climb up a mountain in your shorts. So he went to Wim and says, I've got this panic attack and blah blah blah. So Wim basically put him in the river. The river is 4 degrees Celsius now,
and that's Celsius for any Americans out there.
And so he started going, because that's what it does. Started getting a panic attack, and Wim was change your breathing. So he would listen to Wim because he looked up to Wim, and changed his breathing. and slowly calmed down and calmed down and calmed down. And he said it was a fantastic week. And when he went home, he kept up the practice. And 2 years later, he became an instructor.
No way.
So
that's unbelievable.
So again, he had to stand up in front of us. There was 27 of us, and he was able to stand up in front of us and talk away for half an hour, whereas before this he was terrified of public.
So a person with severe panic attacks most of their life and all of their adult life have went from pure panic to teaching people who are going through the same thing how to pretty much cancel that panic. That's
how to control
it. Like if you have a small bit of panic in life, if your dog runs across the street, that's fair enough. I think that's natural.
That's natural. Yeah, your body automatically is going to release cortisol and adrenaline. Yeah. That's normal. But it's when you can't control that and how that's how the Wim Hof Method can help. As I said, breath control is stress control. Learn how to control your breath, and you'll be able to learn how to control stress. And some of you guys might have heard of a guy called Jay Shetty, who was a Buddhist monk, and the first day at training at the monastery was they taught him how to breathe, and he was asking, like, why are you teaching me how to breathe?
Yeah, a normal reaction, in fairness.
And they says, well, when you get anxious, what changes is your breath. When you get angry, what changes in your breath. When you're happy, what changes in your breath. When you're sad, what changes in your breath.
Simple.
Each emotion, your breath changes. So they believe that indirectly, if you can control your breath, indirectly you can control your emotions. I keep them. So we've all seen Buddhist monks, they're all Zen the whole time.
Yeah,
that's why.
And being honest, the way I would describe the Wim Hof Method, because the breathing, I wake up, my morning routine is I wake up in the morning, my alarm goes off. First thing I do is I lie down on my back and I do 2 rounds of the Wim Hof through my nose. And that gradually, I'm not overwhelming myself with doing the mouth breathing. It's more relaxed. It's more, I'd say I'm more mindful of the breaths that I'm taking in instead of being forceful with them. So I wake up with that. I do 2 rounds in the nose. Then if I'm tired, if I'm tired, I'll do possibly 3 to 4 rounds of the mouth breathing, and I do between 40 and 60 breaths on the inhale, as quick, but not stressing any of my muscles. Only really focusing on getting into your belly, into your chest, into your head, as Wim Hof would say, into the and fully in. And John and I, before the podcast began, I was going around the shop. I was making us a cup of green tea, and I was saying, and fully in.
This is one of Wim's most famous statements, fully in.
I'll probably have to turn that down actually a bit, because if you're wearing headphones, God love you.
So just what you were saying there, so Owen was saying that he does 2 rounds in through the nose and a couple of rounds in through the mouth. So again, if you ask Wim, should I breathe in through the nose or in through the mouth, he will say, you've got a hole here and you have a hole there, just use one of them. But science would say there's a difference, and what happens when you breathe in through your nose, you've actually got glands that release what's called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide makes your veins open up, called vasodilation, and it allows for a better blood flow and a better uptake of oxygen, and it's also more controlled. So that's why it's a more relaxing type of breathing method. And when you do it through the mouth, it's less controlled, and again, it just takes, so starting off, you probably, people tend to breathe in through the nose and then get used to that feeling, and then progress to breathing in and out through the mouth.
And would I be correct in saying the adrenaline? Because sometimes I would be doing the breathing through my nose, and it's nearly always peaceful. I get a euphoric when I do the final inhale for 15 seconds. When I go and I hold it, that's when I feel in the mouth. I feel when I breathe in through the mouth, it's like electricity going through my entire body. It's a natural high, and when you do it in through your nose, it's like you're your body becomes weightless. That's the way I describe it. There's two different ways it goes. If you want to feel weightless, relaxed, nose. If you want to be energized and you want to feel electricity, and that's also a high. So pick either two, and I combine them and it works. I've been doing it for 8 months now, and it's worked perfectly for me, thank God, so far. Just learning.
So in a workshop, we do workshops and they're 3.5 hours long, and we would get people to do it both ways. We'd do 3 rounds in through the nose and let them feel that sensations.
Yeah.
And then I would say, just as you're saying there, it's more calming, more relaxing. And then we get them to do 3 rounds in through the mouth, out through the mouth. Now, one of the studies that they did was where they injected Wim and with an E. coli, endotoxin E. coli. And it's
who's they?
There's the scientists in Holland. It's a standard test where they inject you with this and they test out drugs. So they inject you with this E. coli endotoxin, and that normally your body goes into shivers and fevers and shakes.
Okay.
And then they'll give you different drugs to see how they works on the body. But Wim didn't take any drugs. He started doing his Wim Hof breathing in and out through his mouth. And what they discovered was that his blood pH increased. He went more alkaline. He started producing anti-inflammatory hormones, interleukin-10, and producing more adrenaline. And so this fought off. He was able to fight off this infection. And they thought Wim was just unusual. And he says anybody can do this. So they gave him 18 people. He trained them for 4 days, and they took 12 people at random, injected them all with the E. coli endotoxin, the same thing, and they took another control group who hadn't been trained and injected them. And all the people that Wim had trained started doing the Wim Hof breathing, and so it had no effect on them. And the poor guys who didn't have the training all got headaches, fevers and shakes.
That is, if there's ever an example of something that changes science,
that was it. They thought you
one
had
of the biggest, if not the biggest.
So they thought that we did not have any control of our immune system, and Wim has proved them wrong. That you can influence the immune system by doing this.
That is incredible. It
and
really
so
is.
there is a great video on YouTube. It's an animation, and it shows all the blood samples that they took, and as you were saying there, doing the mouth breathing. His adrenaline levels shot up, and normally you would think if my adrenaline levels shoot up, I'll be all pumped up and hyper and stuff. Yeah. But you're still fairly relaxed.
It's like in the center where your bone marrow is, let's say, in the very center of your body, in your bones. That's where I feel electricity going through everywhere, and then in my veins as well. But it's like you're sitting on a carpet, and just the parts on the carpet are making the back of your body feel electric, then moving into your front of your body, and it's like it's weightlessness, and all you can feel is the electricity because you're aware of your body.
So we've had people at the workshops where they would start shaking. Okay, and we had one guy who he told me he'd been practicing the Wim Hof. He had a rough upbringing. Okay, he didn't go into specifics, but he said he had a rough upbringing, and he started practicing the Wim Hof method, and he would shake all the time. And eventually the shaking stopped. And this guy was playing football. He broke his arm, got his arm fixed, and went back to the breathing, and only his arm shook where he broke it.
No way.
So he believed that this was releasing internal traumas that he had gone through. And I've had people crying at workshops, releasing stuff, and I mean it's great. It's a great release for them. And
well, being honest with you, I'll tell a quite personal story. I broke my femur, or you could class it as I broke my hip 3 years ago in an accident. I fell from 15 foot onto concrete/tarmac. So it was not a nice thing at all. It was a rough experience. I broke my wrist as well. It popped out my shoulder, and I had an internal bleed in my brain. But thank God it never caused me an issue. It did change me. It changed me in the fact that there was a trauma underlying there, and I suppose heights as well was something that I instantly had an anxiety and a negative feeling towards. And that's when I started doing the Wim Hof breathing, the left side of my body would almost vibrate. It would continuously shake. And I was like, why is this? Why is this? But it began week by week by week by week by week, and then into the months, that the trauma was lifting. When I think about that now, when I think about that, the pain of that and the feeling and it just how rough of a time it was, I feel acceptance towards it now, and that's because of the Wim Hof. That's because I can let it out. I can refresh my body by doing these incredible breathing exercises in which I feel like I am literally like I am cleaning. I feel like I'm cleaning my body. I feel like I'm cleaning my blood. I'm cleaning my body, and it gives me a sense that things that have happened in the past are in the past. It's all about the moment that we're in right now, and that's what the breathing does. It just puts you in the moment. So that's where everyone will have a different experience when they start the breathing.
Yeah.
Like
it is different for everyone, and everyone has their own story, and everyone comes to the method for different reasons. Some just for the novelty of it, others have issues and they've heard that this might help. Yeah. It's not a cure-all. Nothing is. No. It's just another tool to help people on their life's journey.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, this didn't cure my wife. This didn't.
No.
This is just another simple
method. You need
method.
to combine it.
It's never one thing. It's always a combination of a lot of small things, and that's, as I said, this is just one part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we, as I said, we love, and I love teaching the method. Everybody, the first thing they'll ask at a workshop is, how long do we have to stay in the ice bath? They're terrified of the cold.
Yeah.
But
I can imagine.
They're the people who get the most benefit out of it, because they can't believe that they can do.
And their fear descends into pure happiness and pure joy and pure mental. You have a feeling of, wow, I did it. I can't believe it. I could do that. I never thought I could do that.
Yeah, and again, that's just by control. Well, we prepare people for the cold. We do a few little exercises. You mentioned the horse dance. Yeah. It's a sexy little dance that we do.
It's different.
Beforehand and afterwards.
Think of the All Blacks.
Yeah, it's that. In fact, when we were training, in Wim's home place, he had a Maori there, and he said we would like doing the haka. And the horse dance is not a million miles away.
It's not at all.
So you go on you bend your knees, feet are shoulder width apart. You bend your knees, and then you basically, it's like punching out with your right hand and pulling in with your left hand, and you're breathing, and you do this alternately, and you're breathing in before the ice bath. You breathe in slowly and out slowly, and you slow down the whole body. You concentrate on what you're going to do, which is going to be the ice bath. You slow it all down, slow your breath down, calm your mind down, calm your body down, and then you step into the ice bath and you keep that breathing pattern going, and you get into the cold. And then when you get out, most people, if they see swimmers or anything like that, when they get out of the cold, the first thing they want to do is put their clothes on straight away. Well, that's not the right thing to do.
You have to let your body naturally warm up, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. You let your body warm up naturally, and the easiest way to do that is to do that horse stance again, except you do it faster. So you warm the body up faster, so you're going basically horse stance fast, and you do that for about 5 minutes and let the body warm up naturally, and then you can put on your clothes, and that stops what's called after drop, that shivering sensation. And the reason you get the shivering sensation is because the blood in your arms and feet and hands, that's all been cut off because the body wants to protect the core.
Okay.
So when you get into the cold, so it switches it all off, which means that the blood in those arms, legs, feet is cold. If you put your clothes on straight away, it opens up all the veins and capillaries, and all that cold blood mixes in with your core and makes you cold. So you shiver.
Okay.
So you shiver.
That makes sense, yeah.
So that's why that's called after drop. And so, as I said, the best way to fix that is to do this horse stance, except you do it faster.
Okay, if you ever look up after this podcast, if you look up horse stance, you'll be intrigued by it, especially when you see a 50-year-old man with really long hair, big beard, in the middle of a snow-covered mountain.
61 he is.
Is he 61?
He's 61, and he's got a 2 or 3 year old child, so the Wim Hof Method has a lot of other benefits.
It definitely does. Oh my God! Exactly. I was actually one thing I feel towards Wim Hof is he's a bit ageless, to be honest, because he sometimes you look at him and he's playing a tiny little guitar and he's going and he's mad, and then other times he's being real scientific and he's being like, yeah, it's the neuroadrenaline, it's this and that, and you're whoa, and you're like, this guy is an all-rounder.
He speaks 10 languages.
10 languages.
10 languages, yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, he is he knows all 6 chakras. He knows everything about the Hinduism and Buddhism
and karate.
Yeah, and he's tried every bit of spirituality, because Wim Hof, a lot of you might know that Wim Hof he was a twin. And before he was born, his twin was born, and that was it. The nurses were like, "No, that's it. That's you only had one baby." But Wim Hof's mother just felt something was off, felt something was different. So she was like, "I need another scan. But they wouldn't. So she was waiting outside in a cold corridor in Netherlands, and she knew something was not right, so she screamed. The doctors came and they realised there was another baby. But if it had been about a minute or two later, the baby would have died. It came out purple. It was Wim Hof. So Wim Hof came out almost like he was a gift. What did his mother describe him as? I remember reading his book, and his mother described him as something like a miracle, but it's incredible the story of how she knew there was something special, and it was Wim Hof.
Yeah, he as you're saying, he is a twin. His twin brother is very well educated academically, whereas Wim, from the age of 12, started reading and studying Hinduism, Buddhism, karate. He did all these. He travelled around Asia. But what he's brought to the West is the breathing technique. In most of those Eastern philosophies, I don't know if you've heard of Tumo breathing, the Tibetan monks, where they put on wet sheets on their back and they do this type of breathing, generate body heat, and the steam starts rising. Yeah. But you have to spend years studying this, and what Wim's done, after a 3-hour workshop, you can do this for the rest of your life. There's none of this going up a mountain into a cave and staying there for years to try and practice, perfect these type of breathing.
And it's free.
And it's free. Yeah, it's amazing. A simple technique which has so many benefits. We've only just touched on a few, but there are loads more.
And the thing is, with a lot of one pill wonders, let's say in the past, you've seen them on the television that have caused awful mental health problems after, but they have caused a lot of people's mental health if they overdose on them, if they get hooked on them for their whole lives. They haven't unfortunately tried other ways if they're just stuck being addicted to these, and that's not their fault. That's the way the culture has gone. But I think now it should be all about trying every way. Every safe way there is to feel better. To feel better mentally and physically, because I think we've all realised, even during the global pandemic we're on, and we're recording this during hopefully the end of the global pandemic. John, who knows? It'll be interesting. We won't go into a deep dive on COVID now. That's for another podcast. But people's mental health has been impacted so much, because if you say to someone, what are the symptoms of depression? Isolation, staying at home all the time, not connecting with people, not being out socialising with people, not doing everyday activities that you usually would. Lockdowns are symptomatic of depression. They are. If you don't have the tools at your disposal to work on your mental health and keep it in check, there's a very high chance you could develop anxiety, depression. You mightn't be able to leave your home, or you mightn't leave your home as frequently. You mightn't see your friends. But I noticed when everything was reopening with the lockdown, the first lockdown I was anxious, very anxious, and that was last August or July or whenever it was when it was ending, I was anxious because I was like, geez, people, what do I do? And I didn't really have a mental health regiment. Then second lockdown comes, I just discover the Wim Hof Method. I'm like, wow. I come into everyday society and I'm so happy. I'm talking to people and I'm actually telling them about the Wim Hof Method. And they're like, oh, you seem like bright and cheery, and even your posture is better. And I'm like, my posture's better, what? Like, no way. And it's just, even your skin, like with cold showers, because you're not continuously opening, closing your pores. Your pores are, you can do a contrast shower, of course, and you can do warm at the start and wash your body and whatnot, and then finish on cold and close your pores. But I like to do mostly cold all the time, just for the pure fact that I just put a bit of soap on my face. That'll be a bit of natural seaweed soap from Algarin, that up in Donegal. Shout out to them, the best soap in Ireland. Never thought I'd be talking about soap, but it is a good lather. I remember my parents were telling me once about the word lather. I remember they had this conversation in the bathroom, and I was like, what are you talking about? And they were like, we're talking about the lather, how good the lather, and it used to be better. The lather used to be better on. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And they were just having this wonderful conversation about the lather, and I never thought it would happen. So bit of soap, bit of natural soap on my face, bit of natural shampoo bar for my hair, freezing cold. I go in with, let's say, one or two thoughts that I wake up with, and after the breathing I'm contemplating something, let's say, go into the cold shower. It seals it for me, seals my skin. I can't think of a better way to start my day. Then I have a nice coffee or a green tea, and that's your way then. That's
a great way to start the day.
That's how you start the day. Well, that's how I start the day anyway.
Another one of Wim's slogans is a shower a day keeps the doctor away.
Exactly.
No, he does mean a cold shower.
Yeah, a cold shower, yeah. A warm shower. Warm showers have their benefits in terms of circulation.
I mean, this isn't got to be torture. It's not torture.
No,
if it's torture, you won't do.
Yeah.
And
warm becomes a treat.
Yeah, but also it's everyone's different. I mean, I like the challenge of the cold shower. So for me, that's how I start the day, with a little challenge that I've won. I've won the day straight away.
1-0 John.
Yeah. So I come out positive. I've started. And especially in the winter, I live out in the country, so our showers are cold in the winter time. So it's a little challenge. And it's a great feeling. Plus, as I said before, when you come out, your norepinephrine has increased. You're buzzing. You're buzzing first thing in the morning. Yeah. So
this morning, actually, because I was in Donegal for the last. So was John. We were both in Donegal at the same time. Different weather, of course. John had the sun. I had the rain. But anyway, I was in Donegal, and the shower was the coldest shower I have ever felt. I have an ice bin at home. I don't call it an ice bath because it's an ice bin. It's a common bin that I brand new, that I fill with water and ice. But it was colder than that. It was almost ice. I thought it was going to freeze on my body, but it was beautiful. I closed my eyes and I imagined I was under a waterfall. The waterfall, weirdly, that John was probably underneath at the same time in Donegal.
Yeah.
But I came home, and I always thought my shower in Drogheda here was cold, at the coldest of the cold, because I have it on low and I have it on the coldest setting. And today afternoon I did 6 rounds today, I think. I did about 6 rounds today, and I do the odd one during the day. And it was crazy. It was like warm water hitting me. After the first 5 seconds, I could dance. I had a bit of music on. I was listening to, shout out to, I will remember the name in a moment. I'll get it up. It's a local artist from Donegal. She's unbelievable. I was listening to on Spotify in the shop for the last week, and I've came up with a new thing in my shop here in Obi Vape. It's the song of the week, and COVID's obviously not, I wouldn't say destroyed, but it's disrupted a lot of artists, local artists, and to be honest, it might actually prevent a lot of people from going back to music because they have to get jobs and they might lose the passion for it. But if every business gave a song of the week, I have a song of the week by Lara Bell is her name, and she sings Monster. It's a wonderful song on Spotify by I believe she's 20 years of age, from Bumbag, County Donegal, and it's a wonderful song. I'll leave a link below. It's something that I think like local music, unfortunately, the fact that the pubs, the government won't
allow pubs open.
Or provide any support. Like how are the UK allowed so many people at events and we're not allowed to have live music in an outdoor beer garden? Or like it's bizarre, but we're in what we are, John. It is
what it is.
It is what it is.
We just have to breathe.
You just have to breathe through it. Like I remember, I'll give an example of an anxiety I had towards the Wim Hof Method, or towards life and how the Wim Hof changed it. I opened this shop when I was 20 years of age, and I was nervous, very nervous, and because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was only 20 years of age. I had a good idea of business, but I was 20 years of age. I can't have had that much knowledge of it or experience. So going into it, I was like, whoa, and I'd come in, let's say my wonderful mother, Majella, works in the shop with me, and she keeps me in check, in fairness. But I came in one day and she was with a customer, and the customer was complaining about a vape. It was one of my first experiences with returns. And returns, I hate the word, but I was panicking internally. Every light was going off. I was like, oh God, what do I do here, guys? Like, oh no. And I was panicking. I had to go out the back. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what to do. So I was like, what do you think she'll write a bad review? What's going to happen? So instead of walking and analysing the situation, my first thought was, oh shit, I need to go, I need to get out of here. So that happened multiple times, but not noticeably in front of the customers. I had a way of hiding it, like most people do with anxiety and things like that. We know we're living in a time where people have a tendency to hide it, which is not the way obviously it should be, and the way I'm trying to be is let my emotions out now at the time. But back then it was different, and now when I get a return, I'm excited about it because I look at it as a challenge. I think if there's a chance I can fix this vape, I will make this person's day because their vape is perfect. Yeah. Instead of thinking, oh shit, like what is the difference? And the reason why my thoughts have changed is the fact that I don't have that many thoughts anymore. With the Wim Hof Method, you're in the cold chair, you don't think. There's no thinking. You're breathing. You're being in the moment. It's like your subconscious is doing all the work. Your conscious is just living and being. That's the way I see the change in myself, and a radical change.
So one of the things we do talk about, so the third pillar is mindset, and we do talk about it in that 80% of our thoughts are negative thoughts. It's a known fact.
I wasn't aware of that, actually.
80% are negative, and 95% of those negative thoughts repeat every day. This continuous cycle of negative, what if this happens, the negative things, what if the negative thing,
and your thoughts affect how you feel, what you feel affects what you do affect your overall life. Exactly. And this continuous cycle.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we do look at is mindset, and that's why I said, winning the day, starting off with a cold shower, you've won the day. It's a little win. Yeah, absolutely. Starting off the day with a win, and we just try and keep improving that on an ongoing basis.
And John, we are going to be back in just 1 second. We're going to make a nice cup of green tea because we don't have anyone here. It's just me and John. So, John, I'm actually going to leave you to talk on the mic and have the crack. If you have the crack, you're smiling.
Okay, I'll
nobody can see, but a lovely cup of green tea is going to be coming out shortly.
Okay, so I'll tell a few funny stories. Well, I think they're funny. Hopefully you do too.
I find John quite comical in fairness. I think if he wasn't a Wim Hof instructor, comedian would be second.
Oh no, I don't think so. But so I started off my journey. I started off the Wim Hof Method. I signed up for the 10-week online course. So every single morning I would get up and I would do the Wim Hof breathing, loads of stretching exercises and my cold shower, and I felt great. So I started running around the garden in my bare feet and just in a pair of shorts, and my youngest son would look out the window and he just said to my wife, has Dad lost it? Is he going through a midlife crisis? And of course she says yes, but it's cheap. Let him at. So anyway, I carried on, and the following year I went to Wim Hof's home place in Amsterdam, outside Amsterdam, in a place called Stroh, and we spent a week there. It was called the advanced course, and we got taught the science behind the method, and that's when I had my first ice bath. So again, really love this method. I started running again. I hate running. I started doing the park run, and my times got faster and faster each week. Not that they were Olympic times, but for me, I was happy with them. I've given up running since, but that's because I never liked running. But I did see the effects physically, and at the time I was working in a company called Prometric in Dundalk, and so I was going to become an instructor. So every day at 12, I said I'd practice my breathing technique. So I would do the breathing in the morning at home, and at 12 o'clock every day I would start doing my breathing exercise at my desk. So I was in a cubicle with my computer in front of me, my headphones on, and everybody else was either they didn't have the headphones on. I was just, because I was listening to this YouTube video, following this for my breathing techniques. And I don't know if you know, but when you have your headphones on, I know the way you speak louder, well, you also breathe louder. Of course, I was unaware of this. So I'm doing my breathing exercises, and a guy across from me, Fergal, hears me doing this weird breathing sensations, and he sticks his head over the cubicle and says, John, and I had to pull the headphones on. I says, yeah. He goes, are you all right? I says, yeah, I'm fine. Why? Oh, I thought you were having a heart attack. Anyway, so I was unaware that everybody else around me could hear me doing my breathing exercises. I had to stop when the girl who was ready to go into labour was asking me, would this type of breathing help with labour? So I says, no, I'm not sure about that. I says, the only experience I have on that is holding my wife's hand when she's having the babies. So there are a few things that's happened. One other thing too was when we were in training to be instructors, there was a French TV crew there filming, and so Wim, he's a bit of a show off, and so we would do, what we got us to do was to do this horse stance, and then we had to go up the side of this river and a waterfall, and it was a 30-foot drop into this pool below. Of course, I'd never done anything like this before, so we all had to do it because of the TV cameras, the French TV cameras. So we're all doing this horse stance and shouting and exaggerating it for the cameras, and then we all had to go up one at a time and jump. And of course I goes up and I get to the edge and I look down. 30 feet below me is this 4 degrees Celsius flowing river, and of course the brain kicks in and it says, Jackie said not to do anything stupid. And here I am at the edge, and what you do is you have to switch that off and go back to saying, I can do this, and you just jump. And when you hit the bottom and you're so happy that you've done this sort of thing. Again, the brain is there to protect you, obviously, but it does limit you, and you can do a lot more than you think. And again, that's all part of the process, part of controlling the mind and seeing what you can do, of course, within safe limits. So that's just a few of my stories. How's that tea going?
There's an experiment happening.
Oh my God.
So?
Okay. So who knows what I'm going to be served to drink. But we should be okay. Some homemade concoction. Yes, please! Don't know what you asked, but I just said yes. So I can wrap it on here. I've been doing this since 2015, became an instructor in 2017, and I've been doing workshops throughout the country up until lockdown, and they've just started to pick up again. So what have we got here?
We have yours. I'm just going to get close to the mic here because I'm going to tell a story. John's cup of green tea doesn't just contain green tea. Contains honey, but that's not the experiment.
It's nice.
It should be nice and strong.
Why is that?
2 tea bags, 2 green tea bags.
Oh. Very good.
Mine is, I will be up quite late tonight, I'd say, recording or editing this podcast, because I've never edited a podcast before. I've edited plenty of videos in my time, but never edited a podcast. So I have made, first of all, honey. Honey is my favourite thing to have. I used to be addicted to sugar. I love sugar like anything. Bloody brushing my teeth with Monster and whatever. But now what I like to do is I have a base of honey on anything. If I'm dripping coffee, I dripping coffee onto honey. So it's just infusing lovely. When I'm making a coffee tonight, what I was thinking was, what if I put a bit of green tea with the coffee? I know John's face right now is one of a look of disgust.
Yes.
He's wondering what's going on with this coffee. But I haven't tried it yet.
He's not wondering, can he have a taste? He's definitely not.
John's just thinking, how does he'd love to set up a business selling green tea coffee. Honey. Green tea, honey coffee.
There's a ring to it.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
Thank you for listening to part 1 of OB After Hours with John McKeown. Stay tuned for part 2 where we will discuss cannabis. We will find out how nice my cup of tea coffee concoction was and a lot more.